Never judge your entire life by one painful chapter. One mistake is not your identity. One failure is not your future. One rejection is not your worth. One difficult season is not your destiny. Yet every day, people quietly convince themselves otherwise. A business fails and they believe they are a failure. A relationship ends and they believe they will never be loved again. They lose a job and they begin to question their value. They make one terrible decision and they allow that single moment to define the rest of their lives. But life has never worked that way. No one reads one chapter of a book and claims to know the entire story. The greatest stories are never remembered because the hero had an easy journey. They are remembered because the hero refused to stop turning the page. Your story is still being written, and this chapter is not the ending. Part 1. Every great story has a chapter of struggle. Think about your favorite book. Every unforgettable story has moments that make the reader wonder if everything is falling apart. The hero loses hope, dream seems impossible, the future becomes uncertain. If those difficult chapters were removed, the story would lose its meaning. Without conflict, there is no courage. Without struggle, there is no growth. Without challenges, there is no transformation. Life follows the same pattern. The painful chapters are not interruptions to your story, they are part of the story. The chapter you wish had never happened may become the chapter that changes everything. Part 2. Stop calling the middle the end. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that today's circumstances are permanent. Pain has a way of making tomorrow feel impossible. Failure whispers that nothing will ever change. Disappointment convinces people that this is how life will always be. But the middle of a story rarely looks the ending. Imagine reading only half of a novel. The hero has lost everything. Nothing has gone according to plan. If the book ended there, it would feel heartbreaking. But it doesn't. The next chapter changes everything. Life often feels confusing because it is being lived one chapter at a time. What seems like the end today may simply be the beginning of a better chapter. Part 3. Your mistake is not your identity. There is a difference between making a mistake and becoming one. One poor decision does not erase your years of character. One failure does not erase your potential. One moment of weakness does not erase your value. Too many people carry labels they weren't never meant to keep. I failed. I wasn't good enough. I ruined everything. Those sentences quietly become identities, but they are not the truth. The truth is much simpler. A mistake is something that happened. It is not who you are. The chapter describes an event. It does not define the author of the story. Part 4. The story is still being written. Every day brings another blank page, another opportunity to choose differently, another chance to grow, another chance to forgive, another chance to begin again. That is one of life's greatest gifts. The past may explain where you have been, but it does not have permission to decide where you are going. Many of history's most inspiring lives were not built because everything went according to plan. They were built because someone refused to let yesterday write tomorrow. Every sunrise is a reminder that life keeps offering another page. The question is not whether yesterday was painful. The question is whether today will become another opportunity to keep writing. Part 5. Some of the best chapters begin after the worst ones. There are people who discover their purpose only after losing their job. People who found lasting love after heartbreak. People who built successful businesses after failure. People who found peace after years of anxiety. Not because suffering is something to celebrate, but because difficult seasons often reveal strength that comfort never could. Sometimes the chapter that almost broke you becomes the chapter that builds you. Looking back, many people realize that the experience they once wanted to erase became the reason they became wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. The pain was real, but it was not meaningless. Part 6: Keep turning the page. Healing rarely happens all at once. Neither does growth. Some days, the only victory is getting out of bed. Some days, courage looks like making one phone call, sending one application, having one honest conversation, taking one walk, praying one more prayer. Small decisions have a quiet way of moving life forward. You do not need to rewrite the entire book today. You only need to write the next page well. One becomes another. One chapter becomes another. Eventually, the story begins to look different. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you refused to stop writing. Part 7: your best chapter may still be ahead. One day this chapter will no longer feel like the end. It will become the story you tell about how everything began to change. The tears will become testimony. The struggle will become wisdom. The disappointment will become perspective. Looking back, you may even thank the chapter you once wished had never happened. Not because it was easy, but because it introduced you to a stronger version of yourself. Remember this: no masterpiece has only joyful chapters. No hero reaches the final page without facing impossible moments. And no meaningful life is lived without seasons of uncertainty. So do not close the book too soon. Do not decide the ending while you are still in the middle of the story. Turn the page, keep believing, keep growing, keep forgiving, keep moving forward, because your future is not determined by your worst chapter. It is shaped by your willingness to keep writing. One day, you will read this chapter again, and instead of seeing the moment your life fell apart, you will see the moment your life began to change. Remember this: one bad chapter does not define the entire book. This is not your whole story. Your best chapter may still be waiting to be written.